Hello everyone, welcome to another React tutorial. So in this video we are going to look at how to create this image filter gallery, which looks like this. So we have these images here where you can filter them using the labels here. So when I click on them, you'd see that it will filter specific images out. And then we are also going to look at how to get this cool Lightbox effect using a very simple library for React, and it gives us all these options by default, where you can be able to actually download the image or show and hide the thumbnails down here, or you can play the images automatically where enter into full screen mode. And you would notice that when you filter them out and you click on them, it only shows the images that are available at the moment, right? Basically, we are going to look at how we can create some simple image filter gallery. Okay, so I've created a React project using create React app. So you can do npx create React app, and then you give your application a name. So in this case, I'm calling it image filter gallery tutorials. After creating your React app with npx, you can go ahead and delete the files that you don't want. You'd see some additional files which I've deleted already, and I've deleted the content here, so I'm having only hello React here, which I missed the O. So if I do npm start, it should start my dev server, and then it should run my application in the browser. So I'm going to be using this data, which I'm gonna copy and paste here, and then call it images. So yeah, so it's basically the images that I'm going to be using. It's a list of images, so I'm just giving the image an ID, the image name, and then I'm giving it a tag. So in this case, the free new pro, that's what we are going to use to do the filtering. And then I'm also going to add the images that I'm going to use in public folder. I'll create a folder called images, and then I'll get my images and then paste them inside the folder. So in this case, from image 1 to image 16, and that's exactly what I have here. Yeah, so once I have my images that I'm going to use ready, we can start working with it. I'm gonna have to also remove the CSS here, since I write some few CSS myself. So I would remove it so that I don't have any default styling. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm gonna be using these images. I'm gonna create a div, and then inside this div I'm going to do images dot map, and then I'm going to get the images from here. I'm just going to, for now, do another div. I just do image dot image name here, just to see that all my images are showing as we can see here. Yeah, so basically that's how we are going to look through all the images and get the images to show up. I'm going to be using some hooks to manage some of the states that I'll be using. The first state that I'm going to be needing is to keep track of like a particular tag, whether it's free or pro or it's new. I'm gonna create a state, and then I'll call it tag, set tag here, and I'll use the use state, and then by default I'll set it to all. I would have to import the use state from here, and then it will import automatically up here. A second state that I'm gonna need is I'll call it filtered images. Do the set filter images, use the use state hook, and then that is going to be empty array, not an object. Basically, this is going to contain my filtered images. So when I filter the images using the tag, it's going to be stored here. So how I'm going to get the filtered images is I'm going to use a side effect, which is use effect hook. The use effect hook is going to actually monitor the tag. As soon as the tag changes, you should actually set the filtered images using the correct tag. I would do the callback function as usual with the use effect. It's going to monitor the tag, only the tag, and then when the tag changes, so I'm gonna do a ternary operator here. So I'm gonna say that if tag is all, then you should do the set filtered images to images, else it should actually filter these images and then get the images with the tag that has been set here, and then actually set the filtered images with those images. So the way I'm gonna do it is I'm gonna use images dot filter. It's going to look for the image, and when it filter, it's actually going to return a new list of the images that is having a tag. So image dot tag equal to the tag which is being set here. And I'm gonna have to find a way to actually set the tags when you click on the tags at the top, as we saw from the finished project. This one is going to return a new list of the images that is having a tag which is equal to the tag which is set here, right? So this whole thing is going to return a new array, right? So that array is what I'm going to pass here for the set filtered images. If the tag is all, it's going to return all the images. So in this case, it's going to just grab the images and set it for the filtered images. Else it's going to look for the tag here. So if it is free, it's going to loop through all the images and get the images with a free tag and then set it. So in this case, what I'm going to show on the screen is not the whole images, but then the filtered images here, just like this, right? So when I save it, by default the tag is all. We should still see all the images appearing. But I'm going to change it to maybe free, and then we would see the number of images that gets displayed. So we have 5 images for free. So when we look at the list of images, right, you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So basically that's what is going to happen. So by default it's going to be all. So next up, you're going to try and create the tags at the top where we can actually click to set this tag. And I'm going to create it as a separate component and use it multiple times. I'll create the component here and call it tag button. It's eventually going to accept some props, but for now I will leave it empty. And then it's going to return a button, and then the button is going to contain the name of the tag, but for now I'll put all there, just like this. And then I would use the tag button here, paste it here, just like this, and then save, and we should see one button showing up here. Alright, so the way the tag button is going to work is that I'm going to pass the name for the button. So the name is going to represent the tag here, right? The first prop that I'm going to pass, which I'm going to destructure, is the name of the tag. I'm going to have to use the name that I'm going to pass as the text for the button, right? But then I want to transform whichever name that is coming to uppercase. I'm going to say name dot to uppercase, just like this, and I'm gonna close the curly brace. So I would have to pass the name for this particular one. So name is going to be, the first one is going to be all, so I would have to use it 3 more times. This one is going to be new, be free, and the last one is going to be the pro. Right. So when I save it, as you see the buttons with their names on it, so it's been transformed to uppercase with the help of this to uppercase. The next thing I'm going to do is give this button an event, so that when I click on it, it will be able to actually set the tag. How I'm going to do it is pass a prop, which I'm going to call a handle set tag, and that is actually going to call the set tag. So this handle set tag is going to trigger this set tag. Right, so we can pass whichever name that we are passing to the set tag, and it's going to set it. Copy and paste this for all these ones, so that we can use the props down here. So it's called handle set tag, and then we will give the onClick event to the button. OnClick should trigger the handle set tag, where we are going to pass the name that we are passing here. So if it is free, it's going to pass the free, and then it's going to set the tag to free. So hopefully when I save it, I should actually see some interactions going on. So when I go here and click on new, it's going to actually show only the new. Free, it's going to show only the free, and the pro, all, will bring all of them back. That's looking fine now. The next thing that we are going to do is use the actual images rather than using the names of the images. Bring the second div down here. React requires me to provide a key, which I'm gonna do here, and I'm going to use the image.id. That's the reason why I provided the ID for the images. Yeah, and then inside here I would use the image, give it a source. In this case, I'm going to pass the image.image name, which is this. So I'm gonna have to do the curly brace, and then I'll use template string, so that I can actually insert the variable there. So it's going to come from the path images, which is right here, and then gets the particular image it is looking for. So doing a template string, I'll just get the image using the image dot and then the image name, just like that. So I can now remove this one, and then I save it to see some real images here, just like that. Cool. And then you'd see that this too is working. Let me do a little bit of styling to get the images here. So I think from the finished app, it is 4 images on a row. So that's what I am going to do. I'm going to use a CSS grid to display the images. I'm going to have to write some CSS here. So I'll give some class names. This one I'll call it container. I'll also give a class name to this. I'll call it image card. And then this too would have a class name. I'll call it image. And then I would save it. So when I go to my CSS, I would use the container, and then I'm going to set the width to 80%, since I want some spaces at the sides, and I'm gonna give it a margin of auto to actually center it, and then I'll do a display. I'll display it as grid, and I'm going to give it the number of columns that I want. Right, so I'll do grid template column, and I'll do a repeat. So I want 4 columns with equal sizes. So I'll do the 1 fractional unit. I'll also give it some gap, both horizontal and vertical gap, both the column gap and then the row gap. So I'll just do gap and do 10 pixels like this. So margin is auto. Oh, silly typing error. Then the display is great. And then when I save it, I have the 4 columns here. The next thing is I'll do the image card, and then I'm gonna do a padding of 5 pixel border, 1 pixel solid, and then I'll give it a very light border. The padding is giving it some spaces inside the card. I'll give it a very little border radius, like 2 pixel, for very little rounded corners, just like that. And then the last thing that I'm gonna style is the image. We have the scroll bar here because the images are very big. So the only thing I'm gonna do is to set the width to 100%, right? And there we have them, right? It looks okay now. So what I'm gonna do is wrap all the buttons in a div, just like this. So I'll bring this one down, save it, give this one a class name, and then I'll call it tags since it contains the tag buttons, and then I can style it here. Alright, so tags, I'm gonna give it a text align center so that it will center them, just like so. I'll just give some padding. So the top and down I'll give it 20 pixels, and then the left and right will be 0. Background color, which is going to be an RGB color. The red is 43, the green is 92, and the blue is that much. So when I save it, it looks cool now with the padding inside. I'm going to have to give this a class name, and then I'll call it tag, a single tag, and then I would also style that. So since it's a button, I wouldn't like to give it any outline, so I'll set the outline to none, set the border also to none, and then give it a color of this almost white. I'll give some margin at the left and right, so the top and down is gonna be 0, but then I'll give like 10 pixels margin left and right. And then the background color, I'll make it transparent, and then when I put a cursor on it, I want it to be a pointer, just like that, right? Yeah, we have it close to the finished app, and it's working as it's supposed to. The last bit about the styling up here that I'm going to do is I want to actually underline the tag which is selected at the moment. So yeah, what I'm going to do is to use a little bit of logic. Instead of using normal quotes here, I would use this and use some logic. So I'll do the template string. I'll do the template string because I'm going to provide multiple classes. Right, so the first one, which we've styled already, is the tag. I would also want to style it and underline it with a different class name, and that will be dependent on whether that particular tag is selected or not, right? So I'm going to have to add another prop, and I'll call it tag active, which is going to be true or false. That's what I'm going to use here. If tag active with the ternary operator, then I'm going to give it a class name of active. Else, actually don't give it any class name, so I'll just put null there. Right. And I'm going to add this prop here, just like this. it's actually going to return true or false if that particular tag is what is set up here. So inside here I can do if tag is equal to like that particular tag, do something, right, which is like it will return true, else it will return false, just like this. So the first one is going to be all, this one is going to be new, this one is going to be free, and this is going to be the pro, right? So this one is saying that because the name is all, if the tag is all, then return true, otherwise return false for this this tag button. So that's the bit of logic that we are going to use, and that's what this class name is going to handle, which we are going to use here and do the styling for it, right? So if it is active, what do we want to do? So the only thing we want to do is to make the font width a little bit bold, and then we can do border bottom 1 pixel solid, and then we can give it a white color. I think we've not saved this yet, so let's save it and go back and see, and there we go. Right, so when I click on this, the tag is now new, so it will return true for this, and then this is going to get underlined, right? Yeah, so it looks cool now. The last bit left to wrap up this tutorial is to introduce the Lightbox. The package I used is called Simple React Lightbox. If you want to get like more examples, like you can check out the examples at Code Sandbox. There are a lot of examples here. You can just do npm install simple react lightbox, or you can do yarn add simple react lightbox, right? And then the usage is very simple. So you just import the main component, which is the simple react lightbox, from the package, and then you make sure you wrap your application and the component. So this will make sure that the context is created. After that, you import this component, and you'd wrap this around your images that you want to show in the lightbox. Just go ahead and do npm install simple react lightbox. Yeah, because I've already installed it. I have the simple react lightbox version 3.3.4-1 here, right? So just install it, and then after installing, you can continue. I'm going to go into index.js and then wrap my app around the main component from simple react lightbox. So I'm going to do the import here. So I would import simple react lightbox from simple react lightbox, just like this. And then to make sure the context is created, I just wrap just like this, and then I would save it. And now I'm very just like that. And then I'll go into the app.js and then import simple react lightbox wrapper. So it's called the SRL wrapper, and then it's also from that same package, simple react lightbox. This is containing the images. So it's called SRL wrapper, and then it's gonna be down here, and then save it. And then if you know how lightbox work, to be able to enable the lightbox, you have to use the anchor tag, just like that, and then you'd set the reference to the part of the image, right? In this case, exactly like this, which I'm gonna do, copy and paste it here, and then enclose it in the anchor tag, just like this, right? Yep, so this should get our Lightbox work as expected. So when I go here, like, let me click on one, and there we go. Right, we have our Lightbox, and it gives us all these options by default. There are more options that we can set. I'll just do one or two, and then when you check out the examples on the code sandbox, you would find a lot of options. Right, so this actually receives options, so it contains all the settings that you can do. I'll just create a constant and call it options here, and it's supposed to be an object, right? And it will contain all the options for the wrapper, and then the pop it's going to receive is called options, which is going to be options, just like this. Yeah, so you can do something like the settings, and then the settings is a key which is having, so you can do an overlay color and then set the color to maybe green or something, so like green, just like this. Settings, yes, and then the overlay color is green. So when I save it and go here and click on it, you'd see that the overlay has changed to that green, right? You can also do something like buttons, and then change the background color of the buttons to maybe blue, and then you can also change the icon color to maybe white. So the buttons are these ones, right? And then the ones we have here. So when I save it and go there, click on it, you see that's like it's changed, right? That's what we have here. So there are some other options. We have a lot of options, so I would recommend you to check it out from the code sandbox. Yeah, so basically I'll just leave it to the default and then remove the reference to the options props here, because I like the default options, right, just like that, right? And then we have it. There we go. Everything is working as expected. Yeah, thank you for watching the tutorials, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more interesting tutorials like this. You can also leave a comment and maybe like the video if you want. See you another time.